I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another amazing guest. Most recently, you may have seen her on Broadway as an ensemblist in Mean Girls or as Karen on the Mean Girls National Tour, but she's here today since she was a member of the 2016 Broadway revival of Cats, covering Bombalurina, Cassandra, Demeter, Jennyanydots, and Tantomile as a swing. So Jonalyn Saxer, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm really excited to talk to you because the whole concept of a swing is fascinating for me as someone who can't imagine doing one of the cats, let alone multiple. So I want to know, before you got the role, how familiar were you with the show? Like, had seen the 1998 movie? Had you been in a production at any other time in your life? Like, what was your familiarity?
I had seen it once on the West End when I was about 6. And my family kind of collectively decided that we didn't like it. And so my family is a big musical theater family. However, we did not watch, we did not know, we did not listen to Cats. So I think I saw like maybe one professional theater company do it when I was maybe in middle school or high school. But other than that, I didn't know it at all. And when I got hired into it, I actually had to ask a friend next to me while I was watching the show to please point out Cassandra, because I was supposed to be covering her and I didn't know what she looked like.
Yeah, I don't think I still could do it. And I've recorded 20 plus episodes. It's a lot. But so you were 6 years old. I have argued that I don't think that age should be seeing the show because of the storyline of what happens in the show is very adult. Mm-hmm. But as a 6-year-old, did you kind of comprehend any of that, or did you just walk out with, my family didn't like it, so I'm not going to like it?
Yeah, pretty much that. I mean, I think I would argue also that there are many adults who don't comprehend what's happening in the show either. So you kind of walk out being like, Skimbleshanks, they said his name a lot. I remember his name. That's my favorite character, which kids don't normally get the option of doing. They're like, what was your favorite character? And they can't really remember names because there was too much plot happening. But they're like, Skimbleshanks, they said his name so many times. I like him the best. Yeah. And they're really able to pick out those cats that they liked. My family just did it. We didn't appreciate it. My sister tripped a cat in the aisle because she had her legs sticking out and they fell. So yeah.
So they were not thrilled either.
They were not thrilled, no.
It's a very fair point, because when I saw it, and again, I saw it as an adult, but I remembered Mungo, Jerry, and Rebel Teaser, because they also say those names over and over again.
Over and over again.
And I was like, oh yeah, they steal. And that was all I remembered. I was like, it was a cool dance number and they steal, and it was a catchy song. Yep. But I did not pick up the plot completely. I had an aha moment towards the end where I kind of, and I don't think my interpretation of it is correct, but I had a way of how I'm interpreting the show. And it's kind of what has been the genesis of this. But I'm fascinated that you went as a 6-year-old. And I think you said you went with your whole family and you have sisters. Uh-huh. So are you the youngest, oldest? What were the other ages?
Yes, I'm the youngest of 4. And I believe 2 of my older sisters were with me. My family was living in London for a little bit of time. So we saw a lot of shows on the West End and had a rotating stage is all I really remember about it. But we saw a lot and I don't really remember much of it because I was 6.
Did your sisters also have the disdain? I feel like your parents might have just been like, we don't like it, and so you all kind of went along with it because of your age. But did anybody walk away being like, ooh, there was something there, or a part of it I liked?
No, my family, including my sisters, especially my sister Randy, is very passionate about her dislike for cats. And as a younger sister, I kind of just either like or don't like what my sisters like. I wasn't about to be the one person in the family and be like, but the dancing's so cool. They would have been like, no, you don't know anything about musical theater. You're dumb. It's we listen to the Scarlet Pimpernel and City of Angels. That's what we listen to.
So how did you break the news when you got your role to your family of Cats haters that you're about to be on Broadway in Cats?
Let me put it this way. My sisters and my family are very, very supportive and have come to see me in everything I do. Except it took two of my sisters finally admitted that they should see me in the show only after my parents had come and seen the show with my nieces. And my sisters made it just by my last weekend in the show. They kind of refused to come see it until my parents were like, she's singing solos. It's really impressive. You should go. And they're like, fine, we'll go. And it was my brother-in-law refused to see it. So he did not come. He never saw me in Cats. And he's seen me in almost everything else as well. I
understand the level of poking fun at the show, but I've never really understood the hate behind it. Because I mean, there are parts that I could argue, I don't like the writing. I think that the story, which is the whole thing I argue, is I don't think it was written correctly, but I didn't hate it when I walked out. I was mesmerized. I was confused. I was, and I, again, understood why it's easy to poke fun at, but I've never understood why people actually just like dislike it. Yeah.
Well, my family are also kind of, in their own way, musical theater snobs. They're very involved with community theater in our area. And they like to have strong opinions about musicals they know, unknown musicals they've done. So there's not a lot of, it's a fine musical, whatever. There's like, I don't like this song. This isn't good. We don't like this musical. Feelings in our household.
Okay. And I think that's, as the outsider who just, I didn't go to a lot of Broadway. Indiana, which is where I'm from, gets 5 shows a year. And my mom, as a music teacher, we'd go to see those shows. And I was just like, oh yeah, that was entertaining. And some were better than others. There's definitely a couple things where I was like, what are we watching? Because I didn't know the history of a lot of them. But then when I moved to New York, I started going to see a lot. And I've very rarely, I think if ever, walked out and was like, God, where's my 2.5 hours back? I'm always like, there's something there. Like either a really strong performance or a dance number that was really impressive. So I think I come in with a totally different mindset than your family. But I guess I can understand that if that's that Cats is the line. It is on the end of the spectrum of either love or hate, right?
Yeah. And I also just think it's not ever a show that anybody else in my family would ever do. So there's not a way for them to fall in love with it by doing it, which I think is a lot of how a lot of people fall in love with the show is they did it at their theater, or I played Rumpelteazer, or I was Bombalurina inappropriately as a 13-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, and they love it because they learned so much about it. Our family just kind of remained separated. And we tend to hold shows that we've done ourselves as leads as better shows than others. It's just that community theater, musical theater family.
What's the North Star from your family? Like, what's the show?
Well, one of my mom's favorite shows is The Fantastics. My dad is a big Scarlet Pimpernel, Jekyll and Hyde lover. What are some of the other? I mean, we love the classics, Carousel. And I mean, one of my favorite show is probably The Book of Mormon.
Me too.
Yeah,
it's brilliantly written. I think it's hilarious.
Yep.
And again, like I, as a fan, have enjoyed some of these things, but as the classics and some of these other things, I get why they're amazing, but I've also walked out being like, oh, that was super interesting. So I think I'm on the other end of the spectrum of your family is what it sounds like.
Truly. And you're the normal theater going audience. You know what I mean? That's who we want to come see shows, or people who are not going to be like, I could have played that part better, so I don't like this show because of that, which I have had members of my family say,
Wow.
We just really, really love theater.
I think that's part of it is I can't sing, I can't dance. I can't, like, I know I'm incapable of doing any of the stuff that I'm watching, which is why it kind of really impresses me. And I think in the other flip of that is that, like, when I go to a sporting event, even having played at a higher level, I've played against those players and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the extreme version of it. But I'm like I didn't even do growing up any like elementary school shows, right? I was in nothing. I was like, I never was in any type of player performance. So I have like zero skill.
And
so
you have
a
a Cats podcast, which is just amazing.
As a Cats podcast. So let's talk about being a swing, because I think that's to me, again, blows my mind that you are able, especially a show as complex and physical and a lot of different dance tracks and different dance numbers, and you're just constantly moving around the theater as a cat. What was it like learning all the different tracks and being able to kind of perform? Was it 5 different characters?
5, yeah.
And then I do have the follow-up question of like, what did they tell you about those 5 characters? Because each one has very different personalities. And I know that there was the 3 words with your cast, but so you have 15 words. Like, is that how you were taught? Like, is that like, how does that work?
Yeah, well, Cats is my 3rd time being a swing, but it was a very different experience because being a swing in Cats is like knowing 5 different shows.
Yeah.
So there's not there with most shows, you learn a number and you just change where your position is and sometimes what side you do that on. But none of the dances in Cats are like that, especially with the revival. You know, you do an 8 count here and then 4 count here and another 8 count here, but not always two cats are almost never the same. And even when they are the same, like something might be slightly different because you might run into this set piece or someone's entering from there or you're partnering with someone different. So it was really lucky the way that I replaced in it because Cats was the first show of the shows I've done where they taught me the tracks one at a time. So I learned Bombalurina first, then Cassandra, then Demeter, then Tantomile, then Jennyanydots. So Bombalurina took me, I rehearsed with some other replacements and they taught it to us in about 4 weeks. Now, I will say the hardest part about replacing in a show is you're in rehearsal. I was luckily in rehearsal with 3 other boys, but like for girls sections, I didn't have anybody to kind of be like, okay, this is next. You know, you're just kind of dancing on your own. And I don't know Cats very well. So I was struggling on what comes next. And it's a similar issue I had with my first show, Bullets Over Broadway, because it was a new show. And if you don't know the show, sometimes you're like, I don't know what comes next. I don't know what this song is. I've never heard this song, you know, which was true with some songs in Cats. I was like, what the naming of Cats, I think it wasn't until 2 months into being in the show, I finally was actually saying all the words correctly. You just kind of get thrown on stage and you're like, the name's insane. You know, you're just kind of like mumbling along, just like in the right spot, hoping for the best.
Yeah.
But then, you know, some stuff carries through. So like Cassandra, I learned in like a week and a half. Demeter, I learned in like 4 or 5 rehearsals. Tantomile, I was thrown into, I learned in a rehearsal and a half. And Jennyanydots took me about 1 rehearsal to learn.
Wow.
Yeah. So once you know the show, and I like to watch the show a ton, it starts to help learning the other tracks. I mean, swinging Cats is really just like understudying a bunch of principles. They're all principles in their own right. But like I would know things that Demeter would do because as Bomb, I'd be on stage and I could look to my right and be like, oh, Demeter's there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that kind of fascinates me is that there's those 2 cats do McCavity together, and it's just like one day you're on the left and one day you're on the right, and I can't even fathom that, like being able to kind of keep to that track, singing the other half of the song. I mean, like you have to know the whole song. Yes,
it is those 2 definitely pose that special thing where you have to kind of know both parts. And there was one day where a Sunday night I was on as Bomb and Madison, another swing, was on Demeter. And just the way the chips fell the next day on Monday night, she was on for Bomb and I was on for Demeter. And we both were kind of like, why did we have to switch? And then you're kind of going to the other person's spot. I will say the hardest part is that Demeter and Bomb are in the Gumby Cat trio. And it's 3-part harmony. And they all start on the same note, and then you flip into your 3-part harmony. And so there's definitely were days where I was on as Bomb and I'm staring at the girl Demeter and like singing at her and I'm like, I'm singing the same notes as you and I'm not supposed to, and I know I'm not supposed to be singing these notes. And in the booth and backstage we would practice. I'd be like, I'll do Bomb, you do Demeter to our other swings. We're like, great. And then we'll do it again and we'll be like, let's switch for the night show backstage practicing. But yeah, that was definitely its own chore in itself.
That is again amazing and so hard to comprehend as someone who's just watching from the outside. So what were I don't we don't have to go into all 15 words, but what do you remember? What was like the part you kind of took away of this is the backstory I need to know from when I'm playing these characters?
Yeah, well, definitely we got the 3 words, and I had note cards, and I would write the 3 words on the front of the note card. To kind of keep them organized. I had like stacks of note cards. Red was Bomb, green was Demeter, yellow was Tantomile, whatever. And we were just kind of like, again, there wasn't really a director with me in rehearsal as I was learning Macavity. It was our associate choreographer, Kim Craven, who is literally goddess on earth. She had the whole show memorized. She's absolutely incredible. And she would just kind of be like, so this section, Demeter, you're singing at Grisabella, and like Grisabella was like involved with Macavity, but she couldn't get out, and like you were like raped and you have like PTSD, so you like sympathize with her, but also you don't like her and you don't want to be embarrassed around Bomb, and so that's kind of like what's happening here.
Just
is like what I was given.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I've interpreted it. It's just crazy that it was just like so nonchalant. Just by the way.
Yeah.
Here's what you need to know. And
my joke always, because I went to school, I got a BFA in musical theater, and we're taught all of these things about acting, about the text and what the author is giving you. And I would just walk away from those things and I'd be like, yes, because that's so supported in these lyrics. I got that on my own, and I was like, okay, sure.
Well, and that's why this podcast still exists, because it was at first let me make my argument. And then now it's just like, wait a second, what's the actual understory here? Like, where did this come from? How did the Demeter being in an abusive relationship? Like I in the 3, the movie and the 2 times I saw it, I never once walked out and said, oh, that is what I just witnessed. Right. But then you read all about this and it's just chaos behind the scenes. And that's, I think, the part that I have been most fascinated with is that like the fact that you're given 3 words and these backstories and these like relationships, and certain actors in your show are playing off of each other and creating new rumors because they're friends and they are playing the cats, but it's like, well, cats purists don't think they should be friends because they're supposed to hate each other. It's just absolutely wild to me.
Yeah, it is crazy. And definitely like the original cast really dove into those relationships. And the difference of being a swing and a replacement is that you just kind of have to slot yourself in on like a daily basis. So you can't, the most I ever got to do is we had a couple of injuries and a girl leaving the cast all happen at the same time. And suddenly I was Cassandra for a month, which I was not expecting to happen. And I started to kind of like build moments with people, and because you have a certain amount of freedom. I mean, most of the time dancers, we don't get to play one character for an entire show, especially a well-defined character. Now, sometimes it's like, townsperson number 4 here, and then villager number 2, so it's really exciting. It's really fun to just kind of check that mind state, that set of mind, right?
Yeah.
To be in that state of mind and continue it for a whole show. Of course, you're going to develop relationships. And, as actors, when you're setting a show, if you have the freedom, like, you're not going to be close if you think a person smells bad all the time, or, you know what I mean? If you got in a fight back, usually you leave that stuff in the wings, but also like sometimes that just works it way. Or if your best friend joins the cast, or like swings when we would be on together, we could have a little bit more fun sometimes because we had done it in rehearsal together and we spend a lot of time backstage. Whereas when you're a swing with the normal person who's on every night, you have to be aware that you're not the person who does it every night and you don't want to change their show. So you have to really just fit into that slot to support the people around you so that the show doesn't change.
Definitely. That definitely makes sense. So I've covered Bomb, Demeter, and Jennyanydots pretty deeply, but I have not covered Cassandra and Tantomile. So what were their 3 words, and what were you told about, like, what's their, like, I don't even know their backstory. I have done like very little research, and to your point, I probably could not point them out if you line the cats up.
Well, Cassandra is all in brown, and sometimes if she's in a dark lighting place, you can lose her on stage. And sometimes I'd be like, where'd Emily go? And they'd be like, oh, she's in that corner. I'm like, I can't see her.
Yeah.
I wish I had my notes with me because I do not remember their three words.
I don't even remember to even have the three words.
For me, especially with my three main girls, the three I learned first, which was Bombalurina, Demeter, and Cassandra, I kind of just, I'm a very physical actor as being a dancer as well. I chose different standing positions based on what I felt the characters were. So Bomb stood a certain way, Demeter stood another way, and Cassandra stood another way. So if I had been Bomb at the matinee and I'm Cassandra at the night show, I don't have to go into all this, like, what's my backstory, who I am? I'm like, how does Cassandra stand? Okay, she stands like this. Great. Am I in the right spot? Great. What do I do next? Okay, I go on count 4. Which is normally what's going in through your head as a swing. But I did get to do Cassandra for a little while. And to me, Cassandra is a little bit more uppity. She has a pearl collar, which I think is very defining for her character. And it's very slim. And she's, she kind of turns her nose up a little bit at Bomb and Demeter. Like, she would never get involved with McCavity to begin with ever. And she's obviously very well taken care of. And she is, I feel like generous was one of Bomb's words. I don't know, but she's that uppity woman who's like, yes, I acknowledge I'm nice to you, but I'm also better than all of you kind of feeling. And Tantomile, she has a twin. And honestly, I spent most of my time on just trying to make sure I was doing the same thing as the person next to me. She has 32 lifts in the show. And I was just like, where am I? What hand am I grabbing? Who am I with? Was mostly what I was thinking about as
And who's the twin? Well, I don't know.
Coracopat. And they're dressed the same, and you're supposed to crawl with the same arm as the same leg as them and move together. And the two people are originals, Corey and Emily, really worked. So, I mean, they're like really, really close friends, and they're with each other. So as a swing, you really got to just like, and even if another swing was on, you're kind of like, okay, we're both going to do this now,
Yeah.
And they're supposed to kind of be able to tell the future and have like magic a little bit, I think. I'm not really sure. So yeah.
So that's amazing. Cause I was trying to figure out how you would get into the mindset of all these different backstories and the 3 words each time. And what a smart way to just say, this is how I stand, and kind of like, that's the persona, and that's the way I'm going to do it. And then focus on the other part. That's, probably the stuff that people notice more than does she feel like she was abused? Like, did I get that vibe?
Yeah, usually I'm worried about what words am I singing? What step am I doing next? What comes next? And then the standing really helped me, because in those moments where I'm like, okay, and I'm like, am I standing in character? And I'd be like, no, okay, click back into that. And, also that resting position would help me. I mean, there was I remember one moment I was on as Cassandra, and I'm standing in Skimbleshanks, like holding the thing that moves back and forth. I don't know what it's called. And I just thought to myself, and I turned to my friend who was holding the wheel behind me, and I just said, I don't know where I go next. And he looked at me, and I was like, I'll figure it out. And I just kept standing there. Just thinking, I'm not thinking who is Cassandra? How does Cassandra feel about Skimbleshanks? I'm thinking about where do I go next? How do I get there? I know I end here. What happens in the middle? Is anything a safety concern that I need to be worried about? Am I forgetting a safety concern? Also, what are the words?
It makes so much sense when you think about it from that angle. And again, I've thought about this whole musical from only one angle the entire time. And I think that's why when I'm thinking about these things, I'm like, oh, I never even considered any of that.
Right. Which is why it's so fun to do it. I mean, it's so much fun. It's so satisfying as a performer to do Cats. Mm-hmm. Just something I wasn't expecting.
So what's the craziest kind of story or memory or something that happened from your run that you take away?
Oh gosh. I mean, there are so many crazy things. Again, being a swing is, I have so many stories about Cats. I also just I forget words sometimes, and I've forgotten words many a times, and I've just like slip into gibberish. And like one time during Macavity, I was Bomb, and this is the thing, the Demeter Bomb thing. I could think of Demeter's line, but I couldn't remember Bomb's line in the verse. And I was like, it was right before Macavity's not there, and it's supposed to be like, and when a crime's discovered, but I couldn't think of that. All I could think of was, and when you think he's half asleep. And so I'm alone, spotlight on me, and I just like turned my head to my shoulder and just went, and when you think he's asleep, Macavity's not there, like as if no one would notice that I didn't know what I was saying. But we've had, there are cut tracks happening. I mean, I think also the craziest thing about cats is that you can look at somebody on stage and be like, who are you? Is that oh, Aaron's on. Right. I forgot about that. Because the makeup and the costumes look the same no matter who's on. And so then sometimes you look and you're like, oh, I forgot you were like, hi, how's your ankle feeling? Like you just would forget about that. And, yeah, it was a crazy experience, especially to jump in and jump out of. Yeah, I don't know. Another favorite story I love to tell is what people don't, the show starts with those green eyes.
Which is terrifying.
Right, which is terrifying. But I don't know if you've heard, but the green eyes are like a mask. But if you actually wear them around your eyes, you can't see anything. So they instruct us to wear it on our like foreheads. So when you think this cat is looking at you, it's like actually an actor with their forehead pointing at you, kind of just like staring at the ground, moving their head in front of you. And also they're connected to these buttons where you control the light, but it's a wire that connects it. And there's banisters everywhere on the upper levels. And so I would be running around. I'd like turn on my green lights and I'd turn to move. And I would literally just like clothesline myself on this banister because I had gotten my wire cut on it. And then you have to like figure it out and like undo it and like run away because you're a cat,
That part haunted me as a starting point of the show because I was not prepared for it. And
right.
I was thankfully not on the aisle because I would have been really, really unhappy if I would have turned and had a cat, green eyes just pointed at me.
Yeah, it's an adventure, and it's fun for us. Though sometimes, like, I think Christy may have talked about it, but like in the balcony areas on nights when we weren't selling well, or on like, a Thursday night or something, you go and you shine your green lights and it's just like empty seats. Okay, move, next section, like find another place. Like,
yes, I mean, it's such a and I remember, I think Tyler said he got punched by a kid.
Oh, probably.
And I was surprised that that's the first time I've heard that. I thought for sure there would be more swinging.
That's not normally people's first reactions. And we usually don't get that close to people, or I never did. But it was also like the amount of cell phones that we, would see
That's
out.
true.
And then you would like hiss at a cell phone and they're like, oh, take a picture of that. And I'm like, no, put your phone away.
That is very true. I think I don't know who was beside my row, but got right in the person's face.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, I think it startled them more than anything else. But it's
funny because you think like, okay, we're instructed to startle people. It's like, it kind of depends on like how the actor's feeling that day, if they can really see where they're going, how tired they are, if they really want to scare people, or if someone screamed at them the last show and they don't want that to happen again. And it's some actors love to do that. And some actors are like, oh, I hate it when people scream at me. Like, I'm not going to get in their face. It just depends on the person.
That's very true. Okay, I want to do a little bit of a rapid fire, which isn't that fast, so don't worry. So you played 5 different cats, but besides those 5, which character would you love to play?
I don't know. I really wanted to play Jennyanydots, which is why they added the cover, because I'm a tapper. I don't know. Jelly Lorem would be fun, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a fun, a great...
There's a lot of like vocal storytelling stuff, which is really fun.
It's kind of an interesting backstory too. There's a lot.
Honestly, I don't know
there.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't cover her, so I just wasn't told. I don't know who Jelly Lorem is. So I don't know who Syllabub is. I don't know who Electra is. I don't know Rumpelteazel's backstory.
Thief. Klepto cats.
Right.
I just kept calling them the klepto cats. Okay, favorite and least favorite cat. Not actor, cat.
Right. Favorite cat. Oh, this is hard. I feel like my favorite cat is probably Mungo Jerry. I don't know. I also just loved the kid Zach who replaced with me in it. But he was always fun on stage. You know what I mean? Like, you could always turn to Mungo for a good time. And if you were bomb, he would be like amazed that you were talking with him. And same with Cassandra. And like he'd giggle with Tantomile, and he loved Jenny. And you know what I mean? He always has like a good relationship with everyone.
But that's the person. That's the person. What about the cat?
I know, but he's acting as the cat.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. You know? That's fair.
And then, especially, Mungo's like kind of goofy too. Least favorite cat. So many. No. I don't know. Tantomile was just so hard. She was always my least favorite to do. I couldn't
can you I guess you can, but dislike one of a twin? Like do you just
I
like
like
both
Mungo
of them?
Jerry. I didn't say I like Mungo Jerry Wumble Teaser.
That's true. I'm still sticking with the worst cat is Peter. And I feel bad saying it because I like Christopher Gurr.
Yeah.
But that character serves no purpose besides being a body.
Right. In the first number. I mean, like, I could say my least favorite cat is Grisabella, but I feel like that's like a given.
Well, that's great for where we're about to go. That's gonna be my last question. Okay, I got two more. Or no, three more. Favorite song from the show.
I like the opening.
That's okay. That's fun. Not a lot of people have said that.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's everyone. Yeah. That, or I guess Skimbleshanks is fun too.
When I saw it was Mungo Jerry and Ripple Teaser. It's all I had stuck in my head the whole time I left. But the more I've done this, it's McCavity.
McCavity is good too.
Such a fun song and then, like, especially with all the backstory. And then it is a kind of funny one to watch because of that is like, I've argued that I don't think kids should be at the show. So when you see the sexual nature of that like kind of dance, but
people always argue McCavity is the song that's there for the dads. For the dads that have been dragged in to see this show with their kids and their wife or their daughters who really are their girlfriends.
Yeah, and they got Tugger.
And Tugger, right. And so the dads get McCavity to feel weirdly about being like attracted to girls in cat outfits.
Yeah.
But it's for the dads.
So I've actually not heard that, but it makes a ton of sense. But I actually just really like the song. I think the song is super fun, even though it's about, the antagonist, but I just think it's a fun song. And so as I've done this more, that's the one I keep going back to. I'm like, that's the one I get stuck in my head most often now. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you had to be quarantined with one of the cats, which one would you want to be stuck with?
I feel like probably like Monkastrap because like I feel like he would just handle everything,
Oh, that's a fair
He's like
reasoning.
the leader, so if like something needed to be done, he'd get it done, and like honestly, like probably doesn't get annoyed at people too easily.
That's a good answer. I don't think I've heard anybody kind of rationale that. A lot of people, myself included, have said Mistopheles.
Oh yeah,
because it's just fun. That's a very good.
If like, someone needs to make dinner tonight and Mistopheles is tired, like Monkastrap would make dinner.
That was part of my argument for why I would be almost be okay with Buster Jones. Because I feel like he would just order a feast every night.
Yes.
Wouldn't really, he'd eat, pass out, and then you'd kind of have the space to yourself, and he's rich, so you'd probably have a really nice place.
Yeah, very true, very true.
But Monkastrap is a great answer.
Thanks.
Okay, the last one. And I'll give the backstory of this, but I learned from, and I've asked everyone this because I think it's the coolest and craziest thing about the Cats fandom I've learned is there's a group of fans that have Tumblr accounts where they interact as if they are the cat in other scenarios of real life. And so if you were writing scenes back and forth with other Cats fans, which cat would you want to write as? Who would you want to embody?
I feel like I'll say, honestly, I would lean towards Cassandra just because I've been in Cassandra's head the most out of all of them. But Bombalurina is fun. She's more of a set character who could have set opinions, but Cassandra also could be open. Like, nobody really knows that much about her. So you can kind of like do whatever you want with her. Own. Yeah.
You might have talked me into, you said Mungo Jerry, not Rumple Teaser, right? Mungo Jerry, a little fun, kind of quirky, but also the thief. So you could write a little bit of the antagonist and you could kind of get away with a lot more stuff.
Yeah, I always felt like and I don't know if this was just the way that Zach did it, and like Jess even a little too, is like he's kind of like the class clown. Like, everyone loves him, but he's also like shoplifting, like, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, but he's like lovable, He like never really gets in trouble because he always like swindles his way out of it by just being like cute.
Yeah, that would be, again, that'd be a fun option. I've always said McCavity for that reason of it'd be fun to write the villain. In all the scenarios, but now I'm thinking maybe it's Mungo Jerry because you can kind of still write the same thing, but also have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Now, my final question that I've argued at length, and the fact that you said that Grisabella might be your least favorite character gives me hope that you're going to agree with me. But I've argued that Grisabella should not have been the cat to die at the end. And I have very strong opinions of my one rationale why, but I'm curious if you agree with me, and if you do, who do you think should have died? And if you disagree with me, give the Grisabella defense.
See, I think I'm going to disagree with you and say it should be Grisabella.
So give me the why. Give me the debate.
Well, the why, because like, I know it's like an audition to die, essentially, is the whole show. And, like, if we really think about like who has the best audition, it's probably Skimbleshanks, like they build a train, and he even like has a costume change, or like Mistopheles does magic, but like it's too young. And like Grisabella, just like the girl needs like a reset. She really just like, we need to just, like, she's upsetting everybody else by being who she is. She's upsetting Bomb and Demeter. She's making everyone frustrated. Deuteronomy is like, but love her. And everyone's like, why? And so it's like, just get her away. Just restart. Just have her die.
But those contradict each other. Like, it's the best performance, but then the person that we're just tired of. So we're going to just kind of like give the gold medal here and the prize because we need to move on and our lives will be better.
Well, is it really who is the best, or who, like, because I also think that, I don't know, to me, I'm kind of like, do these cats like know what they're auditioning for? Like, I feel like they don't really know what happens in the Heaviside layer. And so the kids are like, that sounds great. It's like, hey, you guys, we're going to audition to jump off this cliff, because after you jump off the cliff, like you'll be in heaven. It's such a great place where you get food all the time and sweets and candy. And kids are like, yeah, I'll jump off I want to be the one to jump off the cliff. But Grisabella like knows what jumping off the cliff means. And so she's like, I do want this. And Deuteronomy is like, yeah, you actually do,
That's an interesting take on it. I kind of love it.
Because if you think about it, like Bomb and Demeter aren't really auditioning, they're storytelling. Like, they're storytelling.
Yeah, I didn't have them as my choice.
Like,
I think Team Gus is the biggest out there. There's for the similar reasons of like, Worthy understands too, like they understand what jumping off the cliff means.
Yeah.
He's got it. I've looked at this. I've said this so many times. I've looked at this from a singular angle, which is I saw Leona Lewis, which made me think of the X Factor. And I thought, we're going to vote off of like an X Factor purely based off of popularity vote. And I don't think Grisabella wins that. I mean, a little bit of redemption story, they can cut up the little pre-song singing memory before and have it. But I think that old Deuteronomy plays Simon Cowell, and he makes his One Direction Fifth Harmony by combining Tugger and Mistopheles, which to me are two of the show-stopping number auditions.
Yeah.
That would have had a lot of votes because every mom's going to vote for Tugger. That's watching that's the target demo of the X Factor. Right. And that's how I walked out of the theater. And I said this, I firmly believe this. If you would have taken Leona Lewis out of the equation, I probably would have never thought about the show from that angle. And I would just walk down and be like, oh, that was interesting. That was fun. But since I saw it and it was like, oh, they're rewarding this one after everybody just cat after cat after cat after cat auditioned, I thought I was watching the X Factor live.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where like in an attempt to be deeper than a reality show, it's like, because you would all vote for this person is why it's not this person. And because, you know what I mean? It's just like the road less traveled, because I think
very true, very true. But I would argue that not always the best talent wins those shows in some cases, especially when you compare it to like America's Got Talent, where there are some really great things, but dogs, which is where this gets meta and a little ironic, but dog shows have won that I'm sitting here watching a magician or a singer being like, this is some skill. And I'm like, oh, and the dog's jumping through a hoop. Like I get it.
Here's the thing also about so many of those reality TV shows is after you, like, I don't know if you know about the audition process, but you go through your initial audition and then you have to tell them your story. Mm-hmm. And that helps you get farther if you have more of a story.
For sure.
So you could argue that Grizabella is talented enough and has the best story.
I agree. There is the redemption.
What it was.
For sure. I think that there is the redemption story there. And I think that she's a finalist. But I don't, She doesn't have
I think the hard part I have about this argument is that I just don't really think on the surface the show makes any sense. So it's a hard place to like have my mind changed or like argue for the thing, because it's all kind of like, I guess it kind of seems like this. And also that's my experience with it of like not really needing to know the plot and just being told like Bombalurina feels this way at this moment. And they're like, okay. And she does it while she's doing a kick. And you're like, great.
I don't think there's an answer to this, which is what I think is the beauty of it, is because I don't think many people have put that kind of thought into it anyways. But that's part of what I like about it. It's part of what I hate about it, because it's someone who likes sitcoms where it's very cleanly cut and there's this, it's, what's going to happen and it's going to be neatly packaged at the end. I did not get that in Cats. And I walked out again, having to almost write it myself because that's the way I could interpret it. And that's where we are today.
I mean, have you seen the video of Mamie Paris singing Memory?
I saw Mamie do it the second time I saw it, and it's incredible.
And so, she holds that note, and you're like, I mean, she deserves. Sometimes we would play the game where we're all out of breath kind of at that point, and it's like, can I hold my breath as long as Mamie holds this phrase? And sometimes it's like, I can't.
And so you could argue, okay, so Mamie deserves to win.
I do think so. And I saw it with Leona, but I don't really remember. I'm also one of those people that when she starts singing Memory at the end of Act 1, I was one of those people who were like, is this when this song happens?
Yeah.
Does it happen right now?
Yeah.
Wait, why isn't the act over? Even in the show, sometimes I'd be back in the dressing room. I'd be like, what's on the intercom? Right, the act's not over yet.
Yeah.
But I will say, watching the show, I got to watch the show a lot from the front. And without fail, I would get chills every time Mamie sung through that phrase. Whereas I don't get chills every time Rumpelteazer and Mungo Jerry do their cartwheels. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different kind of feeling.
Okay. I can get that argument. And Leona Lewis, when she saw it, she was incredible too. So she really belted it out as well. Yeah. And for me, it take the performance to sing her out. That was the one song I knew going in to see the show. I knew nothing else about it. And I honestly didn't even know that was in it. And then I heard, I'm like, oh, I know this song. And then I figured out why I know this. I learned this about a week ago because my mom is a piano teacher, and the piano tuner that has tuned the piano for years, when he tests, plays about half of Memory. And I heard it the other day while he was tuning the pianos. And I was like, Mom, did you tell him that I have a podcast about cats, or did he just play this? No, it's the one song he picks to play. So that's why I knew it, I think, more than anything. Mm-hmm. But I still, as I was trying to figure out, as I was trying to story it myself, like I wanted to write it myself, and I could not figure out any other loose connection to what was happening. And then as I walked out, I was like, that was like the way I wrote it. That was the wrong choice. That was the wrong choice. The way I wrote it was wrong.
Yeah.
But you make a compelling point, and maybe makes it impossible to argue against her performance. But like, I still disagree. You
still think it should be Gus?
Gus, I think, has if you want to do real analysis and make an argument against Grisabella of like, this character is older, has lived a life, is ready to jump off the cliff, like you said, like Gus has the argument from logic. I know my argument's not logical. I'm very aware that my argument is one track mind from a very unique experience, but I'm sticking with it because that's the way I interpreted it. And that's, I think, again, the beauty of the show is everyone can interpret it their own way and differently. And that's why people either love or, like your family, hate about it, because there isn't there. Your family, if I was with your family and they were like trashing, I'd be like, yeah, there was like no plot. I probably would have been right there with them being like, I can't believe you made me watch this.
I mean, like, there's still a piece of me, and I'll say this honestly, because, you know, I've talked at length about my love for Cat and the company and doing it. There is a deep, deep part of me that just will never understand why it was made.
Yeah.
like why?
I've wondered the same thing. My answer is drugs.
Yes, that's also my answer.
Because I can't. I joked of when I saw it the first time. I originally joked about how Andrew Lloyd Webber pitched it.
Yeah.
And I talked about how it was just like comes up with this great idea, makes it X Factor. It was like centered around X Factor again, but it was like, oh, it was this, and then it was like, but wait, here's the showstopper. They're all dressed as cats. And it's like, why? And it's like, don't worry about it. No one will know, and no one will ask questions.
Well, have you seen that interview with him where he says like people are like, so cats, it's about community, it's about this, it's about this. He goes, no, it's about cats.
Yeah. Oh, when he broke down early in the quarantine about, he did the viewing of it. He watched the 1998 movie, and the whole time he was just like telling little backstories. But it was just like, I'm like, you didn't think about any of this stuff, did you?
No. Well, it's such a thing of its time, because if you when you listen to, like, I've been very blessed to work with some older Broadway legends, and you hear the stories they say about how life was like on Broadway and in theater. I mean, not eating, smoking, doing cocaine on stage. I mean, drugs, alcohol, smoking was rampant in the Broadway, you know, and just to think about what Times Square was back in the 80s, early 90s before, you know, and these people are killing their bodies before physical therapy was really a thing, you know? So of course, and also, like, what about cats makes you think like leg warmers? Well, because it was, you know, that time, and they were like, leg warmers are what make cats, you know, unitards and leg warmers. And so it is, I think, you know, I'm sure people were on a lot of drugs during a lot of it. And I also think the original movie is just, you know, a masterclass in 80s jazz.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's what it is. And people, you know, it somehow found all of these people who love it. And I think because it's not really about anything, you can make it about what you want it to be about.
Which I did.
Yeah.
And here we are. which is what makes it so unique, in my opinion, which is part of why I don't, I wouldn't say it's my favorite show, but it's something I've found fascinating the entire time. And the more every layer I peel back, like, I learned something new about it, and it's even weirder.
Yeah. I will say, with my experience, like, I was kind of those people who hated cats. So I was like, I hate cats. And like, my audition was one day and I found out I had it the next day, and I was like, you know, it was very rapid. And I was like, I guess I have this audition for cats. And like, I think I'm going to get it, you know? But I think now I can't hate it because I have such a love for my process with it and for what it takes from us as human beings to do and to create. And that it is, as much as the movie is what the movie is, there's something else about being able to start an experience by being scared less in your seat by some light up green eyes. You know what I mean? Like, it's its own thing. And there's so much that's special about it. And like, even I was forced to watch the movie during quarantine with my parents and my best friend. And it was like, I couldn't even watch it objectively because all I could think about was like, oh, they changed this section of the movement music over here. And this was this dance break. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a different, that one move is the same. And, like, where's Colton? And you know what I mean? Just like, it's such a different view of whether enjoying it or not enjoying it anymore.
Did your family hate watch the movie? Like, yes. Why would you decide to watch this if they hate it so much?
They wanted, well, my best friend kind of pushed it on us, but my parents were curious and my parents don't hate it as much as I think my sister does, but it was definitely a hate watch.
They probably felt vindicated with how bad it was received and a lot of the stuff that came after. They're probably like, oh yeah, we were right. Do they feel that way about the movie?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think not even just with hate, but just like, it's that like, why and what kind of thing that my family just gets from this show.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you were in it and you forced them to at least have to experience it.
I know. And they all saw it multiple times because, again, I'm playing multiple roles. Yeah. So my parents came and saw it. My parents saw it with my nieces who loved it. But also they're all watching it to like watch Auntie Johnny like sing a solo on Broadway for the first time. And, which is really exciting. Like I always say, if I hadn't gone through my experience with Cats, I wouldn't have been able to understudy the 3 parts I did in Mean Girls and have succeeded so much at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it's almost a rite of passage because of how long it's been running that I expect someone to be like, you did Cats at some point in your life.
Yeah, well, I think that's also, it's so funny too, because I've never thought I'd be in Cats because I consider myself a tap dancer, but not like a dancer in the theater world. I'm not a ballerina. I don't have that kind of technique. And so I just never, also because at least 3 times in my life, I've auditioned for Cats, like a regional production or a summer stock production. And I have never, ever made it past the first cut.
Wow. And
never.
One
and
day,
then I get called in for Broadway. And I even joke now, if I took Cats off of my resume and I went and auditioned for it somewhere, I don't know if I would get past the first round.
Yeah.
Just because, but it was my set of skills that was needed at that time. They needed somebody and I had worked with the associate before. They knew I could learn it. They knew I could sing it, and you just are asked as a performer, as an understudy in a swing, especially, sometimes you just get asked to do stuff and it's like, I got to show up. Wow. So yeah.
Such a unique experience. So cool. So tell me about, you are teaching now, correct?
Yes, I am teaching. I'm teaching. You can book classes or master classes with me through Broadway Plus or Artists and Beyond. I also have an email that you can email me to book master classes, including Cats master classes, as well as Mean Girls, dance classes, acting, and I also teach tap privates. You can email me at jonalynsaxerbooking@gmail.com, and you can also find me on Instagram at jksaxer.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your stories, for educating me on some parts I didn't know about, which is always super fun. So thank you for taking the time.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode with Jonalyn Saxer on The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Wrong Cat Died, or check out our website, thewrongcatdied.com.